Ladies and gentlemen, this is El Cochino, Tom Lawler, and I'd like to welcome you to the podcast that puts a little lotion on its own skin, LuchaWorld. Bitchin'.
And greetings, ladies and gentlemen. This is Vandal the Love Handle Drummond, the Freak, joined by Fredo Esparza, Fredo and the Freak, episode number 80 of the LuchaWorld Podcast. Long time no cyber talk, huh, Fredo? How you been?
I know. Where you been? It's been like a month, hasn't it?
Yes. Yeah. I've been the invisible man for a while now, trying to get those great payoffs from Martin Cardigan finally.
Well, you did one of the 605 podcasts, didn't you? Like a couple weeks ago.
Yes, I did. 2 weeks ago, and then he did one of the Star Wars things where he calls us up by surprise and chatted on one of those. You know, that's where I feel simultaneously like an old man and a very young man, because we always talk so with great excitement about all the fun wrestling we saw back in the 70s and 80s, you know, and part of me wants to jump up and click my heels, the other half wants to reach for my cane.
Yes.
Which is sad because I don't have a cane.
Yeah. Meanwhile, while you were gone, I was doing podcasts with the Cubs fan and Dr. Lucha, Steve Sims.
Yes, I heard the Cubs fan episode. I really enjoyed that a lot, actually.
Yeah, I had a good time. Good shows.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, it's it's a trip hearing you like being, you know, opening up the whole podcast. Like, this is Fredo Esparza. I'm like, oh, this is a trip.
You're like, cool.
And actually, you eased into it a lot, you know, pretty smoothly. So.
Yeah. Well, that's what I know. Dr. Lucha was like telling me that I sound smoother on it now. I was like, yeah, it takes a while to get used to this stuff.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. So the last podcast that we did for LuchaWorld Podcast, that I did with the Cubs fan, the big story at that time was La Mascara and Maximo Sexy. The Alvarado family in general were busy. We saw a grainy cell phone video of them destroying a Mustang, and it turned out to be Ultimo Guerrero's Mustang. So I just wanted you to give your thoughts on that whole situation. I mean, because I think if you heard that show, they got fired, and we were talking about how we hadn't heard of like somebody getting fired for that reason. Do you remember anybody ever getting fired for something like so crazy that I mean, it just seems like something that's completely out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's interesting because the debate I've been hearing, one, have you seen anybody fired over some issue like that? The other thing I hear is, what's going to happen now that, you know, Maximo is gone, La Mascara, and, you know, as far as trashing a fellow wrestler's card, the only thing that I've heard that is stranger than that, and I've only heard this the first time about 2 weeks ago, was on Austin Idol's podcast when the wrestling manager, Billy Spears, put a hit out on him.
Oh.
Yeah, I'd never heard that story before. But apparently Billy Spears got busted. I can't remember if he pressed charges or not, but that was the last anybody ever saw of Billy Spears. Nobody would touch him after that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I mean, this is something, you know, I understand maybe there's hard feelings, very hard feelings at the union meeting. Apparently, does anybody know what it was that Ultimo Guerrero said? Did he say something really harsh, or is it something they interpreted as harsh, or a little bit of each?
It probably could have been. I think it was something that could have been interpreted or like meant towards, you know, talking about the union itself. And since that basically is the Alvarados were the ones running it, it kind of like they took it personally, I think. And really, it might have been directed directly towards Brazo de Oro, because I mean he was the union leader, so I would think that would, you know, it doesn't matter if it's not directly aimed.
Yeah,
there's no way it couldn't have been directly aimed at him. That's what I like, pretty much. I don't think he could have sugarcoated it or anything.
Absolutely. And I mean, I know wrestling is a different industry, but still, I think if I was mad at my supervisor and trashed my supervisor's car, I think admin above her would say, you're out of here, and they'd probably even put a warrant out for my arrest.
Yeah, and that's the thing that we're all kind of curious why there hasn't been more done beyond that. Like, we don't hear anything about, like, shouldn't there have been, if charges were filed, shouldn't there have been an arrest already or an investigation? And we're not hearing that. We're basically it just kind of seems like it's kind of just, you guys are fired, you go your way, we go our way, we don't talk about this ever again.
Yeah, that could be. I mean, because I heard Guerrero was planning on filing charges, but...
Well, I mean, come on, it's already been like 2-3 weeks. So.
I know, yes. I don't know if it works any different in that country, like if you could file a criminal charge without putting the guy behind bars right away. I have no idea.
Yeah, and I know it's not like they don't have proof. It's like,
absolutely. I mean, there's proof right there, and while you don't see Maximo touch the car, you see him just sitting back, drinking the whole thing in, and he doesn't seem too upset about it.
Yeah.
The other thing, the thing that I thought most about is I've heard several people comment like, well, the heavyweight champion's gone, La Mascara's gone, and they're talking how it's going to affect everybody, like what if Rush was to follow them. And I know I use this example at least a dozen times on our podcast, but I go back to the old Jerry Jarrett thing saying, yeah, it might hurt us for a little bit, we're sad to see you go, but we got to keep moving on. And I try to think of an example of that, and I know there's information you can find on it. I have to look it up, but I remember in late '77 up Northern California with Roy Shire, the lead feud was between babyface Kevin Sullivan before he went into the Edgar Allan Poe type gimmick.
Yeah.
And he was feuding with Bob Roop. And I saw a lot of the Northern California wrestling around that time, and then I remember they're gone. And Ron Starr was getting the push, Buddy Rose. I later found out, or actually maybe Ron Starr might have not been till later in '78, but what I later found out was Roop and Sullivan apparently were planning some sort of like takeover of Roy Shire's promotion.
Oh.
I can't remember how you would legally do that, but apparently they were, I don't know if they were trying to file something with the athletic commission or via the TV station. But before they could go very far, as soon as Shire found out about it, he just, said, "Get the hell out of here." And they left, and for about another year, he was running, pretty powerfully with Buddy Rose, Ron Starr, Roddy Piper, Moondog Mayne before he passed away.
Yeah.
But of course, Shire made other problems and made other enemies, and his promotion did go down the toilet. But the thing is, he didn't like freak out like, what am I going to do without my two top stars? Well,
and that's how Paco Alonso thought, right? Like, he doesn't really
exactly. Yes.
Because they not only got rid of those two guys, they got rid of Bobby Villa also, which was also.
That's right. I was trying to remember who the third guy was.
Yeah, and we still don't have an answer as to why Bobby Villa was fired. But I know a lot of people were like, and I mentioned this. I said, it's possible that with CMLL being so lazy with how they want to mention the news. They probably just figured, we were going to get rid of Bobby Villa, and we just threw him in there. And it's like, but you don't know. I haven't gotten an answer. I'm telling you, I've gotten answers for other stuff from wrestlers about other things that have gone on over the past couple of weeks and stuff. But them, I don't know. Maybe that's why we should have gone and talked to La Mascara to find out.
I wish we could have. Well, that's also, it's interesting that we haven't heard as much, because 30, 40 years ago, promoters kept a lot of these kind of infighting things as secret as they could.
Yeah.
But they don't really do that anymore, aside from trying to do an angle which is disguised as a shoot, but this obviously isn't the case. So I wonder if there's some story we don't know about Bobby Villa. Maybe he did have some involvement.
Yeah, there's some people who, because he was brought in by Ultimo Guerrero, which is also one of the weird things. I don't know if he was brought in directly. I think he was, because when he did Informa, they would ask him who found, who trained him or stuff like that, and he would talk about that stuff. But I'm not 100% sure. But I think he might have been involved. Some people seem to think that he was involved in some way in that.
Yeah, that's another interesting thing in the biz, and I suspect it's that way in other realms of the entertainment biz. Is mentors and students. Sometimes they have a lifelong connection, but sometimes they have really wicked breakups. Like I think I heard the fabulous Moolah praise the ground Mildred Burke walked on, but after a while, all bets were off, and they couldn't stand each other, and cursed the ground each other walked on, and you do hear about that more than more than just a little bit.
Yeah. So basically, right after that happened, CMLL vacated their 2 championships, the belts that La Mascara and Maximo held. There is actually a tournament tonight. We're recording this on Tuesday, and there's a world heavyweight tournament going on right now. I'm sure you're disappointed you're missing that. And then Saturday there's another tournament for the light heavyweight title. So I'm sure you're going to be disappointed you won't be able to watch that because it's going to be on a Saturday show. So really, are you disappointed that you won't be able to watch those?
Well, the light heavyweight tournament I'm a little more excited about, probably.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, the heavyweight.
Yeah. you know how much I love tournaments.
We were looking at the light heavyweight lineup they brought out was so well. I think I wrote it down here. Oh, here it is. Here's the heavyweights in the tournament. It's the torneo cibernetico. Here it is. Check this out. Okay, Rush is good.
Yes.
Marco Corleone.
Absolutely.
Mr. Niebla.
Fun. Match doesn't go too long.
Yeah. Gran Guerrero.
Yeah, okay.
Piroth.
Hey.
Cranio.
No.
Cranio. I like Cranio against like light heavyweights in trios matches because he gets, he lets himself get tope'd a bunch of times.
Yes.
Euphoria.
Okay.
Terrible.
I dig Terrible a lot.
Dragon Rojo Jr.
Yeah.
Ray Bucanero.
Okay.
It kind of seems like it's going to be Rush or Marco, right?
Yeah. Rush or Marco, I think that's what I'd do.
Maybe.
Even though I've seen him a bunch, I want to give this a huge nod to Terrible. I love how he gets people over.
Yeah, he's the other one I would think. Like them 3 would be the ones that I think Rush Marco would be the obvious ones, with Terrible being the obvious guy that's done it before.
Yes.
The dark horse. But I mean, it just doesn't really excite me to watch the tournament.
No, the tournament does not excite me. It's not that everybody sucks in it. A few do, but it just, it's nothing. It's almost like, let's get this tournament over as fast as we can so we can have a champ and move on.
Yeah, I would have just done like a short 4, do Rush, Marco, Euphoria, Terrible in a 4-way, elimination tournament.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
I think that would have been better.
Do some angle where they're considered the top contenders by admin, and do something quick.
Yeah. So the light heavyweight tournament happening on Saturday has this. This is actually a better group, but still not that impressive. It's good, but it's not. You got a couple of guys that you're just not really sure how they got in this. Caristico.
Okay.
Niebla Roja.
Yeah.
Johnny Idol.
Okay.
Barbaro Carbonario.
Yes. Okay. That's worth it.
Stuka Jr.
Cool. I dig him.
Yeah.
I think I dig him more than a lot of people do.
Yeah. Misterioso Jr.
Okay.
Ripper.
Ripper is somebody I have not seen enough.
Psychosis. It's Ripper. Psychosis.
Psychosis Ripper? Okay.
Yeah.
Then, okay.
Yeah, the second one. Remember the one we interviewed?
Oh, yeah.
Well, we interviewed both.
I totally forgot he's called the Ripper.
Yes. Drone.
I thought you meant Don Ross is alive again.
Yes. Drone, who I'm sure you probably haven't seen.
No, I have not seen Drone.
Blue Panther.
I can always see Panther.
Yes.
Especially in a tournament match, he might make it kind of cool.
Yeah, and Pulvera.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, they're good, but it's nothing that I'm going to go out of my way
to watch.
Yeah, if I have nothing to do, I'll watch it.
You have seen Drone. Drone used to be Hombre Bala Jr., although you probably didn't
Oh,
see
yes,
that.
I have seen him.
It's not that. You haven't seen as much, probably, because he's an undercard guy.
Wasn't he on a lot of the undercard matches?
Yeah, with Super Halcon.
Yes.
Yeah.
He just really...
He would work the opener. He was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
So you're not excited about this tournament?
Takes a lot to excite me these days. Although I will watch a tournament that has Barbaro Cavernario in it just for the sake of Barbaro Cavernario.
Yeah, I'm hoping he wins it, but I'm guessing once we figure out... I mean, I'm sure if we checked and saw who holds titles, we would know more or less who was going to win it. Because, they have to have a certain group of guys to be in that other tournament, like later in the year, the Universal Tournament. CML, it's all about tournaments. It's insane how many tournaments these folks come up with.
It's funny. And are we the only ones who are not excited about tournaments? Do people dig them in Mexico, or?
I think, like all things, there's some people who are interested in that stuff, whereas I don't really care about tournaments because, nobody remembers them. Like, who remembers them afterwards? Like, nobody really remembers who wins or loses these tournaments.
Yeah, if you're going to ask me about all the tournaments I've seen in Lucha over the last number of years, the only one that comes to mind, and it's just like, I didn't even see the entire tournament. I just saw the final, the Ingobernables with Volador Jr. and Cavernario.
Are you telling me you can't remember who won the 2012 Gran Alternativa?
No.
Yeah. So that's the big news from La Mascara and Maximo leaving, with CML out while getting fired. With on CML side, they have to fill up those two titles, and I think their spots are pretty much the technical side's kind of been filled up by Niebla Roja, who's getting that feud with Ultimo Guerrero, and then La Mascara's position. That's been a little bit iffier on that side because they pretty much they're doing this gimmick with the Ingobernables where they team up with a different partner. I think the previous week they teamed up with Barbaro Cavernario.
In fact, I did see that match. I did see that match, and I got excited because I thought maybe Cavernario was going to be part of the crew, but I guess it was just an angle. Yeah,
then this week they teamed up with Hechicero, and then they had the angle of Vangellys, which I'll talk about in a bit. But the other side of the La Mascara and Maximo leaving, they debuted in the Crash, Conan's promotion. It's not his promotion, but he's part of the whole, the brains behind the Crash promotion.
Yeah.
They debuted at Querétaro I think it was on Wednesday, and then on Friday they made their way back on the show in Tijuana, where they attacked Penta Zero M and Rey Fenix, and then later on again they showed up again in the main event. So basically now they're part of that. They're feuding with those guys, with Lucha Brothers, Penta Zero M and Rey Fenix, with the Rebellion and all these other guys. So they do a promo afterwards with La Mascara and Maximo where they're talking about how they're coming for everybody and that they might bring in more people to help them. And so Maximo at the end of the promo tells everybody to check. He tells the guys, "Hey guys, why don't you go check on your cars?" So I don't think I don't know. Hopefully he doesn't get in trouble for that, but I don't know. Yeah,
that's pretty funny.
It's weird.
They should do a gimmick where one of them dresses up as a valet and says, "Yeah, I'll park your car for you, sir."
Yeah. Well, it's funny because when they did the run-in, they attacked Penta Zero M and Rey Fenix. It's Maximo and La Mascara, probably the two least scariest guys you're going to see in a run-in.
They don't exactly instill fear. Now, if Rush came in and with somebody like Terrible or somebody like that, I'd say, they look like they could beat somebody down into oblivion.
Yeah, like a chubby guy with pink hair doesn't really scare.
He's not exactly scary.
Yeah. So it's like I get it, and like some people are trying to tell me like they believe they could buy it. It's like this would never work. Like if you grew up watching wrestling going back to the 80s. This stuff, you would never... when Adrian Street I could believe Adrian Street attacking somebody, but when you saw Adrian Street run in, he always had like somebody distract the person, or he would attack the person while they were down.
Yes.
And the other thing with Adrian Street, looked like a badass. Like he actually looked like.
Actually, I mean, he's one of those few guys who had this total flamboyant look that was a perfect hybrid.
Yeah, he looked like a glam rock guy.
Yes.
Yeah, so he kind of looked a little more like, and you could tell he could handle himself because he had a rougher looking. He was in shape, and Maximo doesn't look like that. And then La Mascara, every time I hear him talk, he's so nice, so easygoing, laid back. It's like I can't take that seriously. But I like that they're doing something with them on the Crash. It's something different, something you're not getting in AAA or CMLL. Yes. So it's good. The other thing that happened in that match, Penta Zero M and the King, Ray Phoenix, they wrestled Black Terry and Skyday. You didn't watch that match?
In fact, right before I called you, I was watching the opening. I saw how over Black Terry was.
Yes. That match, if you watch it, the Black Terry Penta Zero M parts are really great. It kind of slows down whenever Ray Phoenix and Skyday are in. And then the camera work, it's obviously a handheld, so you kind of...
Yeah, I did get a little seasick here and there. But...
Yeah, you don't get a lot of it, because first of all, there's this girl's head covering the part of the frame and everything, so it's not as easy to view. But you could tell, it was... And then there were some points where you kind of see that that Black Terry and Skyday don't quite get what these guys are trying to do, because they're trying to do all the the indie... The
hold for hold and stuff. Yeah.
Well, they're trying to. Ray Phoenix and Penta are trying to do indie stuff, like the U.S. indie, whereas Black Terry and Skyday are doing more of maestro style. So it looks a little bit disjointed at times. But Black Terry and Penta, when they fight, it kind of looks like you're looking at Penta's looking at the guy he could be in 30 years.
Wow.
Because. Or Black Terry seeing what he could have been if he was 30 years younger.
Oh, wow.
Because their styles are very similar.
I know this probably sounds corny, but I was so jazzed to hear people really into Black Terry.
Yeah. Oh, man, his weekend. He wrestled 3 matches this weekend. He worked, I think it might have been just 3. He might have wrestled 4, actually, but I know for sure he was in 3 tag matches. He wrestled in TJ. Saturday he wrestled another tag match. I think it was the one with Kaifan and Dr. Cerebro and somebody else. Yeah, it was Black Terry Negro Navarro versus Kaifan and Dr. Cerebro, I think. And then on Sunday he wrestled in Puebla, where he teamed up with Negro Navarro versus Blue Panther and Octagon.
Wow! So if I wrestled that many times in a few days, I would be in bed for a week, just stiff as a board. And he's older than I am, damn it.
He's in his early 60s. It's man, he's supposed to be mid-60s too now. So
amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked about this before. You think guys like him, Navarro, Casas, Atlantis. I mean, there's got to be something they can teach the younger generation.
The other thing that I like about Black Terry, very much like Nero Casas, is that they accept the style and what the younger guys are doing. They don't mind it. They actually they work around it, or they work with it. They try to figure out more or less what they could do in that match to bring
I think that's really important. A lot of younger guys, I think that's a big mistake they make, is that they don't try to figure what the older generation's doing in the present day, where I think the smarter veteran wrestlers know that the business evolves decade by decade, and how do we fit in it? How do we do what we do, but also make it fit in, a modern version? I mean,
yeah. I was surprised on that show. What was that?
I'm sorry?
Go ahead.
I was going to ask. I noticed that the Tijuana show was a benefit for Nicho. Is he hurt? Is he sick? Do we know?
He has he's going to get surgery on his 2 knees. He told us about it. He told us.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, he was supposed to get it in January or December, but he's been getting booked a lot, and he kind of doesn't have the money to do the. I guess he just wants to I guess he doesn't have the money to do the surgery, so he's.
Wow.
They're doing benefit shows for him and all that. Supposedly, he posted on his Facebook page that AAA had promised to cover the expenses or help him pay for the surgeries. And they kind of they lied to him. So he was like very upset at them, and he mentioned how AAA are liars and like they're it's disgusting what their promotion is, the
brigands and thieves.
Yeah. So and
that stand out even in the wrestling industry, that's known for brigands and thieves.
Yeah, he was very appreciative of the Crash doing this.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well, the Crash helped pay for DJ Z's surgery. Also, remember when he got hurt?
Yes.
Yeah. So they've been very willing to help guys when they're in trouble and stuff. So.
Oh, that's very cool.
That's cool that they've been able to do that.
Yeah. And speaking of AAA, I didn't know if you wanted to get to this sooner or later, but on Twitter you talked about how you were going to have to explain to me the recent AAA show.
The Verano Escandalo?
Yes, and my response was something, I'm paraphrasing myself, but I say, okay, should I be sober, stoned, drunk, or drunk and stoned before I heard you say this?
You might actually understand it better if you were drunk and stoned. Yeah, it's ever since they've added, well, you've seen Lucha Underground, how they book their shows. It's very, they don't really plan that far ahead. It's just titles can be switched within a week, like the Sexy Star thing and stuff like that. So
stars can be killed in the storyline right away.
Yeah. So it's basically that's kind of what it is right now with AAA. But imagine doing that without the talent that the Lucha Underground roster has. So you're basically getting Poder del Norte working main events, and then they change the entire lineup of their shows completely. So that's exactly what they did on this show. So early during the day, Taya, the AAA Women's Reina's champion, she tweeted out about how her and Johnny Mundo were enjoying a nice sunny day in sunny California, sunny LA. We enjoyed it too. It was a nice day this past Sunday. So she tweeted that out, posted a picture and stuff like that. So of course AAA opens. Well, before they get to that part, they open with celebrating Vampiro's birthday.
Oh boy!
They brought out cake. He ended up in the cake, of course.
Oh, good. I was going to say,
but it's
that is when hell freezes over, is when there's a birthday cake and no face in it on a wrestling show.
Yeah, so they do that. So right after that, Mascara de Bronce, who they basically, in the last tapings, they did this angle where four guys each got a suitcase or a briefcase, whatever you want to call it, and each of them had, kind of what WWE does with Money in the Bank, and I think Impact also does this with briefcases where they put a little something that the guy can win or something. So
and those ones, I never actually saw the TNA ones, but I heard the descriptions, and it makes less sense than the craziest thing Johnny Legend ever proposed. I remember it just made no sense at all.
Yeah, because you get a briefcase and it's all it says is that you get a title shot or you're fired or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. I fought hard for this briefcase, which says I'm fired.
Yeah. So there was four, and one of them Mascara de Bronce got, and his said that he had a shot at the AAA World Mega Title held by Johnny Mundo. He could cash in the suitcase at any point, anytime he wanted, any day, any show. So he decided that this show he would cash in that suitcase. So what happens? Johnny Mundo isn't there because obviously he's in Los Angeles. So I just thought that was funny. But I don't think anybody really is reading. Anybody in that building, I doubt they're looking at Twitter and being like, "Hey, he's not here. Why are we doing this?" So,
and then there's somebody in the dressing room saying, "What? He's not here?"
Yes. So what ends up happening? They brought back Hernandez, and he ends up. I guess he ends up facing Mascara de Bronce. Mascara de Bronce wins the match, but Hernandez steals the briefcase from him. So he had for a brief period of time he had the shot at the Mega World title. So this match ends. This angle ends confusing. They get to the next one, which is Argenis, La Parca, and Lancelot beating Averno, Chessman, and Superfly, the OGTs. Lancelot replaced Ricky Marvin. Now, Ricky Marvin we don't know if he's still in AAA or he left AAA because they sometimes forget to mention him, and sometimes they do mention him. This time they did mention him, but nobody knows where he's at. So OGT ended up losing because they fouled Verano fouled Lancelot. That match goes on. La Parka being in this match is hilarious because if you follow, if you go on my website, you'll see a recap of Ciberneticos' appearance on a podcast in Mexico, where he's talking about how sad he is to see his compadre La Parka working for opening and second matches. He's like, and he was talking about how he can't believe he's like, look, man, I love La Parka, it's his compadre. He's like, but the guy is blind. He's blind to AAA. Whatever they tell him, he believes it's like the greatest thing. He'll buy into it. So it continues with this. But I think it's also La Parka's not good.
Yeah, exactly. There's a big difference from La Parka and L.A. Park, and it's very obvious to most people. So,
like, to us, we see him in a second match. We're like, yeah, he sucks. He's in a second match.
Like he belongs there.
Yeah, whereas Cibernetico sees him as being a former star who belongs in the main event, only he's not that good. He doesn't belong there anymore. So that's the only thing that I find amusing of that match. There was a hair match between Pimpinella and Mamba.
Oh, yes.
Pimpinella won. You could see pictures of Mamba with his head shaved. Very sad. But that match actually was fine. The only difference they made in that was that it was originally going to be a Bull Terrier match. I think it's the chain match. And they switched that over just to a regular match. The fourth match was supposed to be Hijo de Fantasma versus Kevin Cross, only they turned it into a three-way match by adding Tejano Jr., but that wasn't enough. They decided to have this match inside a steel cage. So
what?
So and the way they did the cage match, it wasn't done like Lucha. Like in Lucha, the last guy in is the loser, no matter what. Well, in this one, they wanted the first guy out would win. Win the entire thing. It didn't matter who stayed. So what ended up happening was it was booked kind of like an American, like a WWE type of cage. So what ended up happening was Hijo del Fantasma and Tejano Jr. got out at the same time. So it ended in a draw.
Oh, jeez.
So Vampiro comes out and tells the guys that not only because they ended up they not only came out at the same time. I guess somewhere around that time they also announced that the winner would earn a shot at Johnny Mundo's title. So now there's another guy that's challenging for Johnny Mundo's title. So
Johnny Mundo in California's title.
Yes. So two guys got out of the cage. That meant now two guys were getting that shot. So I guess now in Triple Mania there's supposed to be like a three-way match. Hijo del Fantasma, Tejano Jr., and Johnny Mundo for all three titles. Oh, Johnny Mundo holds three titles. I know you probably didn't realize he held.
I did not realize that.
Yeah. So that. And while this was all going on, Hernandez apparently has issues with Kevin Cross, which I don't know. I don't think you've seen Kevin Cross wrestle.
No, I haven't.
Yeah. So let's just put it this way: you're not going to go out of your way to watch Hernandez versus Kevin Cross. Yeah.
I know. I almost have this perverse notion to just watch some AAA, just sit there and shake my head from everything I've heard about it. I almost want to just kind of watch the disaster happen.
Yeah. So, but wait, there's good news out of all this mess.
Yes.
While Hernandez was out there, Vampiro took away the briefcase from Hernandez and gave it back to Mascara de Bronce. So Mascara de Bronce got his briefcase back and his shot at Johnny Mundo once again.
So wait, they stole the briefcase only to have it returned?
Yes. And by Vampiro, because Vampiro is like the entire show is built around Vampiro's appearances, really.
Good Lord.
Yeah. Oh, and then they had a tag match, the AAA World Mega Title tag team titles. The previous TV tapings, they actually had Macias and Pagano win the tag titles, which was, I think, on May 26th. They won the tag team titles. So they had to defend them this week, and they lost them to the guy that they actually beat they actually beat the previous week, Dark Cuervo and Dark Scoria. It was a 4-way tag match that included Aerostar and Drago and an Australian Suicide and Bengala. So Macias and Pagano broke up again. Macias left Pagano bloodied up. I'm sure. How excited are you about Dark Cuervo and Dark Scoria being tag team champions again, Kurt?
You can hear how excited I am. I'm so thrilled. You can see how my voice is raising, and I just sound really chipper and just.
I think we all were hoping like Aerostar and Drago would at least get them back, just because at least that's like a good tag team. Like
exactly. Oh man, this.
Yeah. And the other two of the tag teams in this tag team match don't even get along. Like they had partners who didn't get along, so it's like that was even more confusing. Oh, and then the main event. Get this, it was a 6-way match with one guy's mask was on the line.
Right.
So before the match started, they decided to change the rules, and instead of doing that, they decided to have the losing team would drop their mask. So they basically had everybody reunite their tag teams in this match. So it was Carta Brava Jr., Soul Walker as a team versus Dr. Wagner Jr. and Psycho Clown as a team, and Monster and Murder Clown as a team. Everybody's masks were on the line. The losers ended up being Carta Brava Jr. and Soul Walker. I'm sure you were shocked that they lost. I mean,
oh, totally. I did not see it coming. Yeah. Not even. Not even.
I mean, what percentage? What were the odds of Dr. Wagner Jr. and Psycho Clown losing their match in this match?
I just wish there was some betting going on in Vegas. I would have been there.
Yeah. So it was one of those. It was one of those. The entire show, I mean, it just sounds like a total train wreck. They're still drawing fans, but it's like, I don't know, like, I think I'm really wondering what they're going to do after Triple Mania. They better hope they could get some talent after Triple Mania, because it's like, it's really scary what the promotion's looking like now.
Well, it sounded like it just hasn't been in the last few months. It sounds like a lot of people have been unhappy with them for a long time. And when I say people being unhappy, not fans, but their own wrestlers, which is not good.
Well, that's the thing. Who's upset in AAA? Because some of the guys are getting pushed that would never have gotten a push by anybody else. Poder del Norte, all these guys. None of these guys would have gotten pushed.
Yeah, they're probably just drinking in the moment.
Yeah, they're like, man, I can't believe I'm main eventing Verano de Escandalo.
I'm trying to put myself in the position of, like, I'm trying to remember myself when I first started watching wrestling. And whenever they would say something is going to be happening next week on TV, more often than not, they'd come through with it, and I'd be all excited about it, and I'd watch TV to see, if Blassie goes after Toldus or something. Yeah. And I'm trying to picture what it would be like if I was a new wrestling fan. I got all excited about this show, and I went there, and I'm looking through my program. Wait, these names are all wrong. Wait, I think they gave me the wrong program.
Well, yeah, and especially with Lucha, because Lucha, they basically give you the lineup before you already know the lineup at least a week in advance, and they don't stray away from that. Like, they might change.
Absolutely.
Like, if somebody's unable to show up, they replace that person, but it's not like this top to bottom. Every single match ends up changing. Like, the stipulations change, everything changes. It's kept in a certain reasonable order, it's not, it makes some sort of sense.
Yeah, exactly, because when there's a Lucha show, with CMLL or, even some of the more solid indie feds, when I see like a 6-man and there's more than one or two guys being replacements for somebody who didn't show, I do a double take like, wait, is this right? Because you don't see it as often.
Yeah, and the other good news for AAA is that they're going to, especially for our friends in the UK, they're going to be airing on a TV channel over there, channel called Frontrunner.
And suddenly the Lucha craze over there will die.
You don't think this is going to lead to a generation of fans wanting to fly in Carta Brava Jr. and Soul Rocker and Monster and Murder Clown?
Oh, totally. And I think there's going to be tons of fans from Mexico flying over to Europe, like Irish fans do with Conor McGregor, and they'll just be passionate, rabid fans.
Yeah. It's weird. Like, whenever, I've seen the couple of AAA TV shows I've watched from this year. Like, I remember Bad Wrestling when, I watched WCW for a lot of the really bad shows, and I can't even, like, this show is so bad. It's like, it's close to that, like, that level of shows. I think the only difference was, like, there was so much WCW at that time that, you know, you kind of, like, had to, like, at some point be like, okay, I'm not going to watch this now. But it's like when you only have one show and that one show is bad, that's kind of like, that's worrisome for, like, to me. That's something I don't know. I don't know if they're going to, like, I think we need Dr. Lucha to start a whole, like, I'm worried about AAA's future.
That would be great.
Yeah. It's one of those things that's just weird. So you were telling me you watched CMLL this past week, and you may have picked the better show to watch, because this past Friday show was pretty bad with of course, starting with the Gran Alternativa. You actually watched the Tuesday show. You didn't watch the entire show, right?
No, I didn't. I watched the matches involving Niebla Roja. You know, he's, you know, the ongoing feud with.
Did they take his mask off again?
Yes, they did.
Okay.
I think they're going to be doing that every week for a while.
Yeah. Well, he promised Ultimo Guerrero promised he was going to remove his mask no matter where he's at. If he's facing him in a match, he was going to remove the mask. So I actually like that they're doing that.
That is cool.
Yeah. So
I don't know if this is something he does all the time, but I love the tope that Soberano Jr. does, where it looks like he's a track star doing the Fosbury flop over the bar. It's just such a trip. I love Soberano Jr. And I really enjoyed the Marco Corleone versus Terrible main event. And that's why I mentioned earlier about Terrible getting somebody over. I mean, you know, it was nothing complex, but he put over Marco Corleone, you know, very clean, no last-minute kick out on the 3 count, and with Marco nailing with his running dive twice. Terrible, it's so funny. I know I've watched him a lot over the couple of years, but I've only really appreciated him until recently. I mean, he's one of those guys, like I say, I always admire somebody who could probably slap a headlock on somebody and make it interesting for 5 minutes, and I think he's one of the guys who could.
He's somebody that you always, like, when he disappears briefly from CMLL, he's always like, there's a couple of weeks where he's not really on shows. You kind of like, you're like, why isn't this guy used more? Okay, because I really like when he works with smaller wrestlers, Terrible.
Yeah,
like when he's in there with Titan and guys like that, it's always really fun. Because but even with like Marco and Rush, he always has good matches with those guys. I mean,
it was really enjoyable. I mean, and it wasn't like, you know, the high spots, the moves. It was the overall thing. It looked like they were trying to kick each other's asses, and they had a really good feel to it. Terrible is up there on my top 10 easily. Well, right, top 5 even.
Yeah. Speaking of Terrible, his one of his group members from the TGR, well, actually, Shocker returned, which is one of his other members in the group. It's that group that nobody really understands, like, why it exists. It's poor Terrible saddled with guys who are pretty much past their primes, and Vangellys, who's like the fourth guy. Well, the fourth member of that group, Vangellys, this past Friday, that really was the big, besides Ultimo Guerrero and Sansón winning the first group of Gran Alternativa, they're advancing to the final for that, which should be a good match once they get to that match. I think not this week, but the following week. Vangellys was in a trios match where he teamed up with Nero Casas and Rey Bucanero versus Rush, Piroth, and Hechicero. And Vangellys, Rey Bucanero and Hechicero have issues going back to when Hechicero beat him for the title, whatever title he beat him for. You know, there's so many titles in CMLL. You know,
totally, yeah.
He beat him for the title. They went to the outside, and they you kind of saw Rey Bucanero disappear from the match for a bit. And while Nero Casas was in there with Piroth and Rush, Vangellys ended up turning on Nero Casas, costing his own team the match, and Piroth got the win for his team. So everybody was wondering. They went to a commercial break, I think. That little ad that they show, and then they came back, and Vangellys had the mic. Can you believe that? Vangellys.
No, I know. In fact, when you were telling me that, when you started, giving a little narration of Vangellys doing an angle of this magnitude, I sat there thinking,
why?
I was even wondering, where has he been? I mean, obviously I don't watch every week, but I don't remember hearing his name mentioned or anything.
Yes, exactly. He's one of those guys where everybody's like, he could be working in Guadalajara, and people will ask me, where's he at? He just wrestled this past week or something. It's one of those. So he grabs the mic and he tells the Rush and Pierrot that he wants to join the Ingobernables because they obviously have an empty spot now that La Mascara is gone. So Pierrot goes back and grabs the mic and tells him that, no, he's not good enough to be part of the Ingobernables. And then Rush comes out, and you see him holding like some sort of weapon, like a board or something, and they just start beating on Vangellys. They attack him. So basically what Rush and Pierrot said is that he could keep trying to join the group, but they're not going to add him just because of one attempt in joining the group, that's not enough.
That's actually a very cool angle, I think.
Yeah, so actually earlier I think it might have been on Thursday, late Thursday or Friday, early Friday, they Mas Lucha posted an interview they did with the entire, not the entire family, not exception being Dragon Lee wasn't there, but it was an interview with Rush, Pierrot, later Mystico joined it, and Pierrot's brother, who wrestled in Guadalajara, he previously wrestled as Pitbull number 2.
Mm-hmm.
Not to be confused with Pitbull number 2 from ECW. Pitbull number 2 from Guadalajara, guys.
What an original name.
Yeah. Wow, he's changing his name. But before he changed his name, they wanted to announce that he would be representing the Ingobernables on the independent scene as Septiembre Negro Jr.
Holy shit. You take the most tasteless gimmick in the history of lucha.
So who do I message? I messaged Rob Viper and I said, hey, we almost had Vangellys and Septiembre Negro because we're constantly bringing up these like offensive gimmicks.
Oh my God.
That people don't really a lot of people don't follow that they're offensive. I think you're probably there's a handful of people we can make light about this stuff, and it's but it's always us two that always find it amusing.
Oh yeah. I can't remember when I figured it out because I remember seeing Septiembre Negro, the original, in all the magazines when I was a teenager. What's that?
Vica
Mesqua, yeah. And then I remember a few years later realizing what it meant. I'm going, oh dear, that's odd.
Yeah. Well, he was talking about how he's bringing it back because it's a cool mask and all this stuff, and I'm like, yeah, I guess, but it's kind of offensive.
I agree too. I mean, it's one of the few times because Wolf Rubinsky's tried to get involved and get the gimmick put away.
Oh, really? Wow.
Because he was Jewish and he found it very offensive.
Yeah.
And I guess he was overruled.
Yeah. And then this guy's talking about how there's been other Septiembre Negros afterwards, and he's like, but I'm gonna bring it back to what it was in the past. And I'm like, oh, really? And it's I was laughing. But the scary thing is for about a brief second, before he said he was going to only represent them on the independent scene, although it's possible he could represent Ingobernables, he could always join CMLL. I mean, it's not they're not picky about talent, they have and they had Thunder and Pierrot, so it's they're not picking on their undercard and all that stuff. It's
oh yeah.
It's not they're going to go, oh, he's too bad for our promotion.
Exactly. I mean, CML is so much better than AAA on the whole, but that doesn't mean they do knucklehead things. They do a lot of knucklehead things.
Yeah. So we were so close to having Septiembre Negro and CML, and as soon as he said, no, I'm only representing them in the independents, and he's like, if La Mascara needs my help, I'm here for him. And I'm like, I don't think La Mascara needs your help, dude. But that was just that just made me laugh. Yeah, that was the big news from the Ingobernables. But I think Rush and Pierrot, I think what they want the other brothers to be part of it, Dragon Lee and Mystico.
Yes.
Which I think would make a little more sense to have Mystico. And
I think it would look a lot more dynamic.
Maybe even Dragon Lee, because I think it would look. The only problem is that you would have to get another cool technico to although you have Volador Jr., who's pretty cool, but some of the younger guys, maybe like Soberano and guys like that, more involved.
Absolutely, I'd like to see more of that.
Yeah.
I'm pretty stoked at the push Soberano's getting. That's one of my current faves.
Yeah, him and the Dinamitas, really. They're doing the push. The other news about another group that's possibly coming back. You haven't heard of this group in a couple of years, probably in 7 or 8 years. Hechicero wrestled this past Sunday against Satanico. Before that match, Hechicero wanted to make throw in an added stipulation into the match. They didn't add it into this match, but after the match, they did talk about it afterwards. Hechicero wants control of the Infernales name.
Oh, how cool!
And then when Satanico responded, Satanico told him, "Well, I'll put the control of the Infernales name on the line if you put your mask on the line." And I mean, I'm obviously guessing Satanico would lose.
That's what I would think.
Imagine an Infernales. I mean, I'd be curious to see what they would add. Probably some, we were talking about this on the other podcast, and we're like, it could be really good or it could be really bad.
It could be really bad. If you get two other people who are either like the original Infernales or somebody along the lines of Hechicero, it'll be the most bitchin' thing you'll ever see. But then again, if they get another Pia Roth type, and you never know what they're going to do too. I mean,
because we were thinking of guys that they could add. Because it's CMLL. I remember when Luciferno was thrown into Hijos del Infierno, and how everybody wanted Hechicero to be in that group. they didn't care. They're like, we're going to put in Luciferno. We don't care.
Yeah, I know. It's so funny because I'll hear so many people discussing wrestling angles like, well, this is the logical thing to do, and the first thing everybody needs to know is logic does not always go hand in hand with wrestling promotion. I mean, there's a lot of things where the obvious answer is obvious to everybody except for the people booking the shows. Yeah,
that's so weird. It always stumps me when I you come up with all these when you watch the shows and you're like, are these people not watching these shows because they're so bad, or there's something that they're not doing right? And you're like, aren't you guys watching this, or are you just watching that one? We've
seen that in some indie dressing rooms where somebody comes in and just says, boy, were we over. Oh, my God, did you hear that pop? And everybody else is just kind of looking uncomfortable saying, yeah, I guess we heard the pop a little, maybe.
Yeah. So that's the other news as far as and then there's the other thing. We don't know if it's going to be an Infernales group in the Independents or in CMLL. I would think it would be in CMLL because I think that would make a little more sense. Although I think how many groups can we possibly have now? I mean, they have trouble keeping some of these groups are having trouble just keeping their groups together. It's because guys getting fired or leaving or they never.
Yeah, I was going to say I'm not surprised, but I think if I were in a promotion during a time or running a promotion during a time when I knew that WWE is a lot more liberal about picking, using guys from Japan, from Mexico, I'd try to think, okay, who's the most valuable and how can I keep them here?
Yeah.
And, I mean, Sombra probably did it with the greatest maturity. It looks like he let them know a long time ahead of time, and it was a good out, but I mean,
yeah, he even got a mask match out of it. So
yeah, exactly. And that was a really fun mask match.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole angle, not just the match itself. It was a fun time.
So you did find that you did hear that the trios match that everybody had been talking about for the past 7 months finally happened.
What trio match is that?
The Casas family getting a shot at the trios titles.
I did hear about it.
Yeah, they posted. So Puma, I asked Puma and Tiger while they were on Informa, as they were waiting for their turn to be on the show. I sent them a message and I told them, "Hey, can you guys find out if your match is going to be on? If it's going to air on, are they going to air it or are they going to do anything with it?" And I got the answer in Informa right away that no, they're not going to air it. But Puma Puma and his girlfriend mentioned that they would post it on his YouTube channel. He started up a YouTube channel. Puma,
oh, no way!
And he actually did post it. There's a handheld of that match.
Oh, that is so cool, and
so
worth checking out, I take it.
Yeah. I haven't seen it.
Oh, my God, no, I would like to see that.
Yeah, so that was the other the other CMLL news. Volador Jr.'s back. I guess today they ran another angle with him and Carbonario. So I guess we're going to get a Carbonario Volador Jr. singles match again.
Want to know the date as far ahead of time, so I'll know I'm not going to be doing anything on that Friday night but watching Lucha.
Well, we don't know if it's Friday. It might be on a Tuesday show, because if it happened today, it might be on a Tuesday show.
That's true, too. I think that's one. I mean, I know it's a few months away. I'd almost try to save that for the anniversary.
Well, I mean,
maybe not for like the main event, but
well, they're just having a match. They're not doing anything other than.
But don't you think they're going to tease up to an Apuestas eventually?
Eventually, I'm guessing, but it's like they're just having a match. I don't know. You're asking me to predict CMLL in advance.
That's right.
Like
Even after I went along here saying how unpredictable they are and what knucklehead moves they do, I'm thinking, do you think?
Yeah.
I guess flip a coin. Will they or won't they?
Yeah. Oh, the other there's the big indie news, Kurt. You remember that indie promotion called X-Law?
Yes, I do.
They're back.
They've returned?
They've returned.
Oh.
After 9 years of being dormant, they've returned with an invasion angle on DTU shows this past week.
Oh, my Lord, that must have been so shocking.
Yes. I was like, I tweeted out, because that promotion was started up by the Super Luchas editor, Ernesto Campo.
That's what I had thought. And
I'm like, I hope Ernesto was there raising the flag of X-Law for this invasion. But so far
rather than Ernesto saying, "What? X-Law's back?
Yeah.
When did that happen?"
Yeah.
Which is something I could picture happening in wrestling too.
Yeah, I guess he's close with those guys like Halloween and all those guys. So
that's so.
Yeah, so they kind of were the ones that the first guy that showed up was Halloween as part of that group. The other guys have been DTU guys like Gio and Junior, they're a tag team in DTU that's called Los Malcriados, the bad boys, the troublemakers. They were the first two guys that were unmasked as part of that group, and then Pesadilla, another guy who's part of that DTU, he's now part of that group. So I think they just wanted a faction of their own to like run in these like as an opposition.
Right. And I was being a bit facetious earlier, but when they did do the invasion angle, I mean, do people remember X-Law? Or is it just like, who are these guys running in the ring?
Yes. Well, I'm guessing there might be like the first show they did that, there was maybe like I didn't see a lot of people in attendance, so it's like I don't think people remembered. I mean. When I heard about it, I was like, how many people remember X-Law? I mean, it's been 9 years. I mean, nobody, like, we could do a Lucha Classica on X-Law, and people wouldn't remember what it was. I think we're at the point
that is a bizarre thought.
Yeah.
That much time has passed.
Yeah. So it's like, it's not. The other news from this past week, Kurt, I know you were excited. I know you were waiting patiently to. Actually, you can't watch it because you don't have.
Oh my God! Bull Nakano's coming out of retirement.
Lucha Underground is back.
Oh my gosh! I'm jazzed, so I can stream it but not watch it.
Yeah. Oh, you don't have El Rey Network, huh?
No, I don't. Yeah, we ditched our cable some time ago and rely on the Netflix,
So you'll watch it on Netflix when it gets posted on there.
Yes, absolutely. Unless Cubs fan does it first.
well, they basically had a match where it was Johnny Mundo versus the Mack in an all-night long match. I think you saw the first match of that, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Where it was just like one match that goes all the way to the very end of the show.
Yes.
Only this one, they still have 3 minutes left on the show. And somehow they basically ended the match at that point. And they basically spent the last 3 minutes announcing that they were going to have like another regular match featuring these two guys on the next show. And it's like, okay, so why did you guys waste time on this match?
Yeah. I'm having flashbacks of Chavo Guerrero and Roddy Piper being hyped for this coming Friday's main event, and then the TV main event is Chavo versus Roddy Piper.
Yeah, it was basically like one of those, like, well, the thing is, it was a good match though, but it's like it I don't know, it
doesn't matter how good they are. I mean, same with Chavo and Piper. They fucking work great together. They were awesome, but not every other Friday.
Yeah, like you saw this already. It should have had a conclusion. I mean, how hard is it? Johnny Mundo wins, moves on to the next guy. Because
absolutely, yeah.
I like the Mack, but it's like if he's not going to win the bout, I don't need to see the Mack versus Johnny Mundo again. If they've already done an hour, or 37 minutes really, if you take out the commercials and all that, a 37-minute match. I don't need to watch the following week another.
Yeah, I think a specialty match like that, especially that goes so far, should be like the blow off.
Yes, exactly. That's what I thought too. Like this should have been the blow off match. But it's like it's the new booking of the younger kids nowadays. They all like to make it all confusing.
Yeah, they like to make it confusing, and half of them base it off something they saw on TV 5 years back and want to recreate, even though they don't want to build a story for the fans first. We'll just get up there, do a whole bunch of moonsaults, and the fans will go crazy. And I'm saying, no, that angle you thought of way back in the past, they built up to why they did so many high spots.
And it's weird. They could have ended the match the way, like, I think there was a splash off a ladder through a table, and I think that would have been fine. But they just kept going, and it's like, come on, guys, it's like. It wasn't like they did a good job of timing it, but I mean, you still see 3 minutes going. There's still 3 more minutes. They could have kept going, or like they could have counted the pin, and it would have all night long. To me, is that it's the entire show. It doesn't mean, part. It wasn't all night long. It was part of the night long. Part of the night.
long night.
Yes, partial night long.
With no road going home.
Yeah.
They should change the name of it to a purgatory match.
Yes. Yeah. The other thing, there's a big show this June 11th. There's going to be a show called Breaking the Barrier. It's going to be streamed by Powerbomb TV. I think it's part of their VOD packages and all that. But they have this lucha tag match. I mean, this lucha tag match has had so much bad luck. I think you might have heard of this match when it first got announced. It was Puma and Tiger versus Los Traumas. Mm-hmm. Well, then, like about a couple of days later, or maybe like a couple of weeks later, they announced that the Traumas weren't going to make it. Mm-hmm. So, they just said Traumas were removed from the show, and they had Puma and Tiger versus Guro Maya Jr. and Triton, who was at the time going to be in. I think he's in Chicago, flying out of Chicago to go to these other places. And then from that point, it later was announced that Triton was removed, wasn't going to be able to make it because he was going to be, I guess he was coming back to Mexico. He was going to go back to Mexico. And he was replaced by Skyday. And then like a week later, we find out that Tiger can't make it to the show. And yes, I think it might have been early Monday. It was announced, Puma announced that Felino would take his spot. So now the match is Puma, Felino, versus Skyday and Guro Maya Jr., which should be a fine match, but it's like it just changed so many times.
Yeah. I was going to say, should we poke fun at this, or should we consider this angle an homage to AAA booking?
Well, the other thing is that the promoter was one of the guys who was handling. I don't know if he was the promoter or just handling contacting the talent. Mm-hmm. He kind of was on a podcast and he talked about how he talked to Los Traumas. Well, he didn't talk to Los Traumas, but he talked to other people. And these other people were telling him the stories about Los Traumas. Not Los Traumas, but Trauma 2. Remember that story from...
Yes, I do remember the story.
So these people were that's all they brought up. And it got to the point where they the guy said that he talked to another person, and that one person told him enough where he decided not to book them.
That is bizarre.
Yeah, so then I started, I was wondering what that was all about. So I contacted Trauma 1, and what Trauma 1 told me was that this promoter told them that they canceled the show.
Oh, dear.
So,
do they not know people are going to find out?
Yeah. And I told him, when Trauma One told me that, I go, I told him, this is what they done with that show's still happening. This is what has happened in that match that you were going to be a part of. And I go, I just thought you should know because, you know how it is. People start talking, start talking about gossip and stuff like that. And I go, and it has something to do with that story from your brother in the past. And he's like, no, man, no, they told us they canceled it.
Oh my gosh.
Like,
and just think, okay, I think if you're in the promoter's shoes, the smart thing to do was say that really upset you and didn't get to be on the show. And of course, they're hearing from people who probably want to kind of sabotage Los Traumas. He doesn't see that. And okay, even if he did think, okay, I don't want these guys on my show in the future, still have the match that's advertised, have them do a job or do whatever you do, and then just don't book them later.
And it's weird because you get that a lot in wrestling. Like we still we get like the times I've been around other wrestlers, they'll tell me like stuff about a wrestler who like there might be a rumor about this guy, something he did wrong or something, and then when you ask that wrestler or you find out that wasn't true, that story still exists because that wrestler didn't like do enough to like say, hey, that person didn't like hear that it wasn't true. So they continue to bring that up, and it's like it's an ongoing rumor that never ends.
And so many wrestlers participate in the gossip that even when it's somebody who sounds credible, presents himself intelligently, you still have to take it with a grain of salt.
Well, it was like when people were telling me like yeah, it's that, and they were telling me all this like stuff, and it's like you do realize those guys wrestled in L.A. afterwards. I mean, they were still coming into L.A. I I understand that they came to L.A. Maybe you don't think that's like but I don't think you could come into L.A. illegally like before. You know what I mean? Like
right. I know it used to be a mix where there's guys who had all their papers intact, and there were other guys who would do a little sprint across the border. Yeah,
and I think now it's a little bit harder that way. I think you have to. And then I mentioned like they worked Chicago. It's like they've been in Chicago also. So it's like I think they were in Atlanta too. Like now that I think about it, I think they were in like somewhere else besides that. So they've been traveling because I even asked Trauma One. I go, I know you guys are traveling still in the U.S. I go, I just thought it was weird that you guys were like these guys were so worried about using you guys. And he's like, no, they just told us that they canceled the show on us.
Based on one story and one story where we don't even know what the scoop is.
There was no, like, it just ended. Like, all they said was, they asked Trauma 2 about it, and he said that that it wasn't true, and that I think he mentioned, I think there was more to it where he said that, that he didn't really know the girl that well, and that it seemed like I think it was just her, like, kind of coming up with stuff, like, she was upset with him and came up with that story.
Gotcha.
But we never heard anything else about it. So it's like, I don't know. It never led to anything. So like to think that you would do that, I mean, there's a lot of guys that you're booking, the other thing I thought was funny is like when I thought about that, you're upset. You won't use these guys to fly them in, but you'll post their videos on your your streaming service. So it's like, that's kind of a hypocritical type of thing. So it's like,
that is very much so.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was the other thing. The other thing that I wanted to mention was Keyra, who's really just killing it on the indie scene. Mm-hmm. Have you seen her wrestle, Keyra?
I don't think I have. But I saw the link that you sent me, so that's I'm going to watch that along with the Black Terry tag match.
Yeah, watch her. I think you might be able to find it. There's a match with her versus Zeuxis.
Is that the Mask? I'm sorry. The one you gave me the link to, that's Mask versus Mask, right?
Yeah, that's with Yosa Quetzal. Yes. She's not that good, but you can see Keyra's really good. Like she's a very good Ruda, but she's really like this past year she won that Mask match. She's won 3 titles. She's been very good this year. So
very cool. Okay, I got to start.
Yeah, you got to check her out. I think there's a couple of other matches where she's really good in the matches that. I like the Zeuxis match is really good I think it was from 2015.
Oh, wow.
Really good. Yeah.
Excellent.
So, do you have anything else you want to talk about?
No, I think that's about it.
We covered everything?
I think we've covered everything, and thank you for updating me on what's going on with Lucha.
Yeah.
What sporadic viewing I do, I really enjoy, but it is good to get the whole rundown from you. Totally.
Yeah, I should send you the Dr. Lucha episode of that we did of Lucha Classic.
Oh, if you could, I would love to hear that.
It's a really good episode. All of you guys who are listening to this, you could hear. I actually posted a 10-minute preview available through the LuchaWorld podcast feed. You could find that on iTunes and all that stuff. But the Lucha Classica podcast, it's only available at Podbean, at luchaworld.podbean.com for $2.95, and on Patreon at patreon.com/LuchaWorld as a $3 reward, with patrons having reward options of $1, $3, and $5. I like how I add the $1 option, and really all you get is a thank you.
And the episode with Dr. Lucha is one that any history fan would enjoy. It's about the whole formation of AAA. It's infant days.
Well, you know what I want to do is the next Lucha Classica, I want to do what was going on during that, because we could go through the box. I'll go through the box of Lucha, and we'll do this. We'll talk about what was going on around that time in Lucha, like not the AAA stuff.
Oh, that would be cool.
What was going on with CMLL and UWA, and
because that was such a, as a fan, that was a really fun time. Just so much was going on.
Andre the Giant was in Mexico at that time. Remember?
Oh
that?
Yeah, was that when that was toward the end of it all, wasn't it? Where he would be with Bad News Coach.
Yes, when they were talking about how bad he looked and stuff like that.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think there was a Blue Panther Atlantis feud also going on at that time, if I'm not mistaken. I think there was something to them. Although, with CMLL, they could be feuding at any point. Yeah.
So true.
Yeah, so true. This episode was really good. I really enjoyed it. But next episode, we'll definitely do that. You'll be on that one.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I look forward to it.
The plan. We'll have that. We'll do that one.
So until next time, ladies and gentlemen, Hare Krishna.